All right, let's dive right into this. Welcome to today's explainer, where we're going to tackle a concept that, let's be honest, usually gets a pretty bad rap. I mean, when most of us hear the word budget, we instantly think of strict restrictions, endless, tedious spreadsheets, or just administrative chores. But today, we're going to completely reframe that. We are looking at budgeting for what it truly is, a strategic financial blueprint. Think of it like the master architect's drawing for a company's future success. Because if you really want to understand how a business survives, thrives, and ultimately grows, you absolutely have to understand how they plan their finances.
So, here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the financial blueprint, then look at the features of good budgets, and break down their core elements. From there, we'll run through the different types of functional budgets, how we classify them, and finally wrap up with responsibility and accountability. Let's get to it.
Section 1, the financial blueprint, laying the groundwork. Before a single product is even made, a business has to figure out exactly what it's going to take to hit its goals. And there's this incredible quote from W.J. Batty that I absolutely love because it basically frames this whole process as time travel. He said, budgeting is a kind of future accounting in which the problems of the future are met on paper before the transactions actually occur. Think about that for a second. You are literally solving tomorrow's problems today. You're mapping out all the potential hurdles on a piece of paper so that when reality actually hits, boom, you already have the solution ready to go. So, how do we formally define this thing? Well, the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants calls a budget a quantitative statement and a forward-looking exercise. In plain English, it acts as a financial blueprint that outlines exactly what you expect to come in and what you expect to go out over a specific period of time. It's always looking ahead. And look, this isn't just for massive global corporations. Governments use them, small businesses use them, and yeah, even households use them to allocate resources and keep that strict financial discipline in check. Moving on to Section 2, features of good budgets. What actually makes them work? A budget is really only as strong as the principles it's built on, right? It needs super clear goals that actually align with the company's big picture vision. It has to have the flexibility to adapt when the market inevitably shifts. It needs to be comprehensive, covering all the bases, and built on totally accurate, reliable data. But honestly, the most crucial point here is that last one. Coordination among departments. This is huge. If your retail business wants to run a massive marketing campaign, you have to make sure it's funded without accidentally blowing past the spending limits set by operations. That kind of cross-departmental teamwork, that's what stops a company from accidentally spending itself into the ground.
Section 3, core budget elements, the building blocks.
At its core, every single budget is just a balancing act between three main structural elements. First up, you've got your fixed expenses. These are the costs that stay exactly the same up to a certain point, and frankly, a business can't really control them in the short term. Think stuff like rent or baseline salaries. Next, you have variable expenses. Now, these will fluctuate depending on the season or how big the operations get on any given day. And finally, income, the actual revenue the business brings in, whether that's through everyday sales or side stuff like interest income. Nailing the balance between these three, that is the entire game of budgeting.
All right, Section 4, types of functional budgets. Consider this our toolkit showcase.
First up is the granddaddy of them all, the overarching master plan, the financial budget. This is a comprehensive plan that predicts a business's income and expenses over both the short and the long haul. Its main job? To monitor overall financial health and cash flow, ensuring the company stays incredibly liquid so it always has the cash on hand to pay its bills. And this brilliantly illustrates the concept in action. Picture a fast-growing tech startup. They'd put together their master financial budget by projecting all that sweet annual recurring revenue from their software subscriptions, right? But then, they have to balance that incoming cash against their massive server costs and all those expensive developer salaries. It is the ultimate grand-scale overview of money coming in versus money going out. Now let's contrast that big picture view with the revenue budget. This one zooms way in. It covers the recurring, everyday operational expenses that are absolutely necessary just to keep the business functioning. If the financial budget is the overarching master plan, the revenue budget is simply about keeping the lights on today. It is 100% focused on short-term financial stability. To put that into perspective, think of a really busy downtown coffee shop. Their revenue budget dictates their daily survival. They've got a budget for the monthly rent, paying their baristas, ordering those fresh coffee beans, and keeping the electricity running. Managing this day-to-day money in, money out cycle is what guarantees they'll still be open for business tomorrow. Next in the toolkit, we have the research and development, or R&D, budget. Now, this one is fascinating because we're essentially talking about intangible assets here. You are literally paying cash right now to enjoy the benefits way down the road. R&D budgets fund all the cool stuff, innovation, developing brand new products, finding massive efficiency improvements. But because that payoff isn't instant, these budgets require incredibly careful planning. You have to balance the high immediate cost of innovation against keeping the company financially sustainable today.
A perfect example of this? An electric vehicle manufacturer. They might pour a huge chunk of their budget into developing a revolutionary new solid-state battery. That kind of research takes years and years of heavy investment without seeing a single sale in return. But they justify that high-stakes R&D budget because of the absolute market dominance they're going to achieve once that battery finally hits the streets in their cars. It's a huge gamble for a massive reward.
Section 5. Budget classifications, breaking them down by duration and purpose. Let's look at a primary example of how we classify these things, the capital budget. This is your financial plan strictly for the big stuff, large, long-term investments in fixed assets. We are talking about buying land, building new factories, upgrading major production capabilities, or buying heavy machinery. This budget eats up a massive chunk of a company's financial outlay, for sure. Look at a global logistics company, for instance. Say they decide to replace their entire delivery fleet with brand new electric trucks, or they want to build a crazy state-of-the-art automated sorting warehouse. That capital budget expenditure physically transforms the entire company. Yes, it is a staggering upfront cost, but it fundamentally upgrades their ability to generate profit for decades to come.
So let's step back and see how this all builds a complete timeline. On one side, you've got short-term budgets. These are your monthly or quarterly outlooks. Things like cash and material budgets live here, ensuring you just survive the month and cover those recurring expenses without drifting off course. But on the flip side, you have long-term budgets. This is your 5 to 10-year strategic planning horizon. This is exactly where your R&D and capital expenditure budgets live. Any successful company is constantly playing this game, balancing the short-term need to survive with the long-term vision to conquer.
Which brings us to our final section, Section 6, Responsibility and Accountability, Managing the Execution.
Now, what's really interesting about this is that cost and budgetary controls are arguably the most powerful tools a management team has. But, and this is a big but, these controls only actually work through the human element. It's what we call responsibility accounting. A budget is just a piece of paper unless you assign real financial responsibility to specific managers, track their actual performance, and hold them genuinely accountable for their results.
The industry term for this process is variance analysis. It's basically comparing the paper target to the cold, hard reality. Let's say a major retailer like Big Bazaar sets a budgeted sales target of 2 crore rupees for the incredibly busy Diwali shopping season. Okay, that's the plan. But management has to obsessively track the actual daily performance against that number. Because if they spot things drifting off course early on, like maybe sales are seriously lagging in week 1, they can jump in immediately and take corrective steps. They might adjust promotions or slash prices to make sure they still hit that final goal. It is a highly active, daily, roll-up-your-sleeves kind of process.
So we've covered a ton of ground today, from the basic definitions of financial blueprints all the way down to the nitty-gritty of variance analysis and responsibility accounting. But I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. If budgeting is truly future accounting, if it really is just solving tomorrow's problems on paper today, what financial future is your organization writing right now? Remember, a budget is so much more than just numbers on a spreadsheet. It is the literal, physical manifestation of your strategy. Thanks for joining me on this explainer today, and keep building those blueprints.